Well, as a moderator, it's also better to be feared than liked. So thank you to everyone who's doing their best to keep in time. If you would stay with us, we have a very interesting fireside chat coming up right now. It's another short element in our stage program, a showcase of a successful Austrian scale-up story from early financing stages up to international expansion. So hopefully there will be some lessons learned in there for all others who are looking into the next generation of high growth companies. I'm talking about Johannes Ferner from Fiskaly, who's going to be in conversation with Maximilian Kempken at Verdane. Both of them are ready and will take the stage right now. Please welcome them with an applause. Thank you so much.
Hello, thank you so much. First, wow, it's quite impressive being here on center stage today, whilst just a few years ago we would not have even dreamed to be in a situation like that. And I'm super happy to be here today with Max. Max is sitting for quite some time in my speed, but not so long in actual time, since roughly 1.5 years on the board of Fiskaly. He invested in us out of the latest or previous fund of Verdane, and we'll start with giving us a bit of an introduction what Verdane is, what you do, and why you're the most exciting and most active PE in Austria.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, nice being here. Last time I was in Schönbrunn was also some 10 plus years ago as a tourist, so great to be back. Verdane is a growth private equity firm, originally from the Nordics. The firm started acquiring portfolios, and that's something we still do, so multi-asset in one transaction, buying from VC funds, PE funds, corporate venture funds, as well as family office, offering liquidity to them. And companies started doing that in 2003, and at some point also started investing in single assets. And due to the secondary LP base that we had at the time and also have ongoing, we have a very flexible mandate also for the single direct. So we can invest anything between 20 and 250 million in minorities and majorities, in profitable and non-profitable businesses, and we still do the portfolio acquisitions. And that flexibility is greatly appreciated usually by the companies we meet, because we can adjust to what is at hand. We also have a team of 40 now as an operating team. So we have people that previously run successful businesses and are functional experts in one domain, be it a former CPTO, CFO, pricing expert, recruiting expert, people raising debt for our companies, headhunting resources. So we have all that included with our investment, and that really is also a key decision for the people we partner with. And the firm is 180 people today, and we manage about 9 billion euro. Austria has been a very exciting market for us in the last years. We've done 3 transactions in the past 2 years here, 3 platforms and 1 add-on. So if you compare that to, for example, the German and Swiss market combined, Austria has been even bigger for us in the past few years. So we see great companies coming from here. And my hypothesis is that a few years ago there was less venture, and so you had a lot of these companies graduating directly to growth equity, private equity type of field. So yeah, very happy to be here. But now back to you. Maybe you can start and introduce Fiskaly a bit and tell the people what Fiskaly actually does and what also happened since founding the company before Verdane invested.
Perfect. So there will be a bit of a twofold answer as we are on an investment conference today. So I'll first start with what are we actually doing. Fiskaly, we derived the name from the word that everyone probably knows in the room, which is fiscalization. Usually that's really not the case. It comes from the continuous transaction control mandates of from the EU level, that on all B2C transactions that are being done on an over-the-counter business, so classic in-shop at the point of sale when you buy something, there should be control that there will be no tax fraud possible, and this is done by implementing several software or hardware mechanisms on there. In our case, we focused clearly on software, and we see that here very clearly innovation also through regulation is possible. We sit in now more than 1,600 point of sale players where we are integrated, get every transaction, store them, and compile them in the respective national laws perspective, so that there is at the end of the day enough log files to reconcile what really has been sold to what the merchants are sending over to the financial authorities. Now we are not a control organ or something like that in these processes, but very clearly an enabler for especially high scaling companies that are going to roll out throughout Europe. We started in 2019 solely for the German market. The Austrians know the word Registrierkassensicherungsverordnung. A few years later, something like that was established in Germany, where we've, in the last few years, been able to establish ourselves as the clear market leader for cloud-based fiscalization. As a kind of reference in terms of what does it mean being a market leader in there in terms of transaction, since inception of Fiskaly and also of our first acquisition target that we have integrated since February this year, we did more than 92 billion transactions that went through our systems. And this is just in those 7 years, where actually it might be rather 6 or 5, as the systems had to also be built. In that time, until we started discussing with Verdane, we already raised a very small round, so that is part of the second era of how to introduce Fiskaly to you, with a few angels mainly based here out of Austria, supporting us on legal ends, but also some out of Germany, and then went on building the company itself. Somehow, and I would say maybe even a bit strategic, we were focusing on keeping the company as lean as possible, so building a business model that really also builds a company, not just a venture case. That made us, or that brought us to the situation that we have been able to flip the company EBITDA positive and Rule of 40 achieved very early on in our history. I think it was in the second or latest third year. And from then on, we progressed for quite a while and built up the company that we also serve, or that we were able to serve companies like DM, Müller on the more classic and traditional company side, or ready to order and Orderbird, Shopify on the highly scaling organizations that are integrating our solutions. And up until that point, we've also then decided to make the company a bit bigger and also to go further beyond, and had our first discussions, okay, what would it need? First, it's expansion. We decided to expand back to Austria, to Italy, and to Spain, and then at some point talked about, okay, how could we actually do this, and saw that we would want to have, besides the angels that we are already having, have more institutional partners, more professional partners in terms of bringing a company from a local domestic champion to play really big on the European field. And this is where, at the end of the day, we started talking, and there will be a bit more to that, but I think that's a good handover to jump a bit in time and say, Max, what did you see back then in the investment hypothesis on Fiskaly?
Yeah, good question. I mean, in general, we look to digitize and decarbonize the world with our investments. So we look for structural growth markets, and I think Fiskaly is in one of those. The fiscalization and in the German market is very hardware-centric still, but the software part has advantages over the hardware. So there's a natural structural trend that's also kind of long-term driven. And we see that in other markets as well. And given that it's the continuous transaction control is a European phenomena, so you have all of these things in the different countries where the laws are differing from each other. And from a customer perspective, it's pretty simple. You're an international retailer, you're an international POS provider, you want to have one party to contact or one partner that solves all the markets you're in. So we saw this opportunity to not only benefit from a strong position in Germany with good growth that is also a few years out, despite being in a relatively small market, which came at the expense of that really good market position. On top of that, as Johannes mentioned, pretty efficient growth, given that you basically resell through the POS vendors, which is quite efficient for a small company. A regulation-driven sale also, that in Germany there came the regulation, everyone needed to have a solution, and if you're there at the right point in time, you can scale pretty cost efficiently. And then once you're with the customer, you're deeply integrated, so there's literally no churn. So all of these characteristics really drove the decision, and it was an easy one because the company came to double-digit million ARR amount pretty fast after foundation. Also, the team very well spread amongst business, product, and tech. So we like that as well. Yeah, but maybe back to you. You can tell us a bit about at the time when you were thinking you wanted to look for a partner. What was the need, or what did you want to accomplish with a partner? And maybe you can also say why was the decision to take Verdane and not someone else?
So maybe going a bit back in this, we first, around the founders, we did a few strategy workshops to actually ask ourselves the question, where should this go? How big shall it become? What is the end game of it? And after clearing these questions in our round, it was very clear for us, okay, we will go at some point for a strategic partner that comes on our cap table and is really helping us out on professionalizing the company and also writing the whole story on an equity level further. And we've at this time, in some news article, I think I mentioned that we have crossed the 10 million ARR mark. And this was somehow a super alert signal, it seems, for every PE fund that is out there. There might be very good automation tools out there, because it led to a case that I got more than 140 inbound requests from several PEs on, hey, can we talk? I heard about this, is so cool, la la la. But then there are some which are more persistent, because we said, this is maybe not the right time to talk to anyone. We have a business to execute and we need to do things. And then there was someone who was a bit more into it and a lot more persistent. And this is Max now sitting next to me, where he was really also chasing us down, but not taking it negatively, very positively. He was the first PE that I was talking to who understood the business that we are doing and the regulation and the market that we are in before getting into my pitch. So really doing their own homework first was quite impressive on that level. I've not seen this with any other of the ones that I've talked to. And essentially, when you talk about a PE investment, you're talking about a marriage, and you're actually talking about one with a planned divorce, right? So for these few years that you are together, you should be with someone that you really click with. So talking also to US people, to UK, to many others, for us in the round of founders, it was the most important fact next to capital, which actually every one of the funds has capital. It is that you see, okay, there are people that you can work through for the next few years, that you can imagine going also through tough times, and people where you see, okay, you click on a few levels on how the strategy of the company should be positioned for the next few years.
Got it. And maybe after now 1.5 years, maybe you can share some of the results or what has happened in that time, and also as a resume, was it worth what was promised, and how do you judge on the relationship today?
So the easy one first, yes, definitely. Now to the facts, why was it worth it? When looking at the point in time when we have signed term sheets, etc., since then, on an ARR level, we have 2.5x in just round about 18 months. We went from sub 100 employees to now being 136 people working for Fiskaly. We have done our first acquisition just roughly 8 months into the joint partnership. And to be honest, I'm not an M&A guy. I'm not someone who ran a process like this before. It is exactly these things that become possible for us as an organization when we take strong partners on board, because that's not our core business. For me personally, I needed the support of Verdane and their respective team to be able to run a process like this. And to highlight maybe a small fact on that process, it was roughly 15th of January where we got data room access, and it was 15th of March where we closed the deal. So the efficiency that we run in our company is also ran on the side of the Verdane and the team around it, that we are able to pull off a deal like this in such a lightning time.
Great. And maybe to close it up, what's the outlook for the next years?
Very clearly expansion. So we are currently in my terms, in just a few countries, even though it's quite big ones, with Germany, Spain, Italy, now France next to Austria. We will be expanding throughout Europe, and not only on the fiscalization side, which is B2C, we will also tap into the next and bigger game, which is a B2B side, called e-invoicing in that respect, because at the end of the day, usually no one really cares if it's a receipt or an invoice. You want to have it compliant, and that's where we live up to the promise that we give to our customers, and that is on each and every checkout transactions, we make you compliant in the countries that we offer to you with just one integration. And I think with that, we get a big nodding that we might be able to say thank you so much for listening to us and our story. Thank you, Max, for the great questions, and handing to you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the invite.